Hello and welcome to the next episode of my Thrift Find series. It's now the month of April. That's when this first little set of items I got were found. We'll see up to what month I end this with, whether it's bi-monthly or just the month of April. So far I haven't found a lot, but let's get into it. So this is from the first 2 weeks of April, I believe. The first week in April, I found this PC, I believe PC joystick. If we look at the connector, this is DB9. Looked it up online. There's nothing super specific, but it's apparently the Atari pinout, so all these are the same fire button. Could plug this into your Atari, Commodore 64, Genesis even. It would work. Haven't really seen anything of this age in a while. Don't have a lot of generic joysticks. It doesn't feel super good, but once again, I'm a fan of collecting controllers. Now, on the week after this, I found these two games. So, Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts. A little infamous at this point. Obviously, after Banjo Pilot, it was like a good 5 years or so at least until the next Banjo type game. Let me actually look and find the year. Let's see, you got 2008. It's not going to focus, but copyright date is 2008. So it's been a long time since an actual Banjo-Kazooie game since this even. Probably actually give this a spin. The pain of this not being in the same genre at all won't be really a surprise to me at this point. Next game I found is Dead to Rights 2. I found Dead to Rights 1 randomly to Thrift for PS2. It's like, hey, this just looks like the ultimate generic game. Put it in, played it for 30 minutes or so, and it's like, wow, this is a roller coaster type game. It just keeps going. There's different weird stuff. So this is the sequel. Apparently it was on Xbox, better console. So I'll have to get the Xbox version of the first one and play through both of these. So in addition, there were some other things in these first 2 weekends that I found in April. I found a few old hi-fi things. Now I usually find at least one, nice silver era hi-fi item, but I decided to take pictures of these ones for some reason. Just sort of a teaser of what I see. I think I just tend to notice them now that I realize there's something that's out there that's old and cool. 5 years ago, before I watched certain YouTubers cover hi-fi components, I just would have never noticed these. So on the same subject of hi-fi, there was also these old school PC speakers. I guess not really hi-fi, but sound related. These are maybe more in line with, if you were a PC collector, something you'd look for. Now this room that I'm showing here is not anything new actually, but I haven't shown it off yet, and I stepped foot in it for the first time in a year. This is just a whole room full of records, vinyls. It's in one of the thrift stores. It's pretty cool looking. It's kind of in a weird, out-of-the-way second floor office. Not the best use of space in that store when I look at the layout, but it is kind of cool. The second weekend in April, there were a ton of other items that I found that were interesting, but not really worth buying. So, first off, Easter had passed at this point. Gotta show the Peep that was immediately discarded. It has the brand new tag and everything. What a shame. Honestly, I'm kind of a fan of the Peep's shape at least. It got a rubber Peep. The next thing that I found was this old flip clock. This is actually the first flip clock I've ever seen in person. Had to mess with the mechanism for setting time. Just see those panels flip and show the time. Now, it's a little rough for wear. The clock part of it's just a little too small for buying it. If I'm going to get a flip clock, I want the actual flip clock part of it to be the biggest part, and it's just a tiny corner in this giant thing. The radio tuner part also didn't work, so had to pass up on this. At a different thrift store, I then also found this big box copy of Civilization 3. Now, I was both slightly surprised that games at this time were still in big boxes. The game came out in 2001, it looks like, from the box. Mostly just had the association and thought about my dad with this game, because this was one of his favorite games. I saw him play it all around. Finally, the last thrift store in this run, had to find, of course, a couple of gamer t-shirts. Now, these ones weren't terrible. There's this decent-looking Crash Bandicoot one. both of these shirts were a size too big, which is why I didn't consider getting them at all. This Crash Bandicoot one, I'm not the biggest Crash fan. I do think it's kind of cleanish looking, but probably wouldn't wear it. Then I also found this Pac-Man themed one. I kind of would have probably got this one. It's literally kind of cheesy, so it kind of works in that regard, but once again, a size too big for me. Also kind of time relevant since Pac-Man 99 had been out for about a week when I found this. So that little association in my head was kind of funny. So this pile of games here is the result of the last about 3 months of thrifting, quote unquote, last 2 months. The last segment you saw on the couch here was mid-April, and this is now late July, so that's a good 3 months, and this is all I've found. That's partially why it's taken so long for this episode to come out, but I guess the little bit I did find is at least interesting. I got a copy of Twilight Princess on Wii without the manual, if I opened it up, so this is like, I usually don't get games to flip. This was kinda to flip, and I haven't actually done anything with it yet. Got a copy of Spore Hero, just an interesting random Wii game. Now, Wii's the console that has just weird random games like that. And speaking of weird games, Sonic and the Black Knight. Found this when I was off in a different city, just ran to a thrift store. I think I have both of the storybook games now because of this. That's sort of a random PS1 game, Nuclear Strike. I think this is an earlier PS1 game. Let me look at the year. It says 97. I think this is one that was in a long box, though. If not, something... Maybe it's Soviet Strike. This says it's the sequel to Soviet Strike. Kind of just saying random stuff without knowing the backstory. Then the last game, this one's super recent. It's just it says $4, but it's actually a $1 copy of Connect Adventures. Because the thrift store had like 8 copies of this sitting there for months. Can actually do something with the Kinect now. I've had a Kinect camera for 360, but not any games that support it, so... see if it's any better than iToy. Apparently, at least the Xbox One iToy, I've heard good things about for Just Dance. And people are upset because the new Xbox doesn't have iToy or Kinect at all for Just Dance. Alright, then the only non-video game thing I found, just straight software, is this Dreamcast controller. It's only $3. Found this when I was visiting my parents. And, it was a nice random find. Haven't seen Dreamcast stuff in a while. Different color controller I don't have. While I wasn't so successful in finding things to purchase in the last couple months, I did find a bunch of other oddities that I passed on. The first of these is this interesting old IBM timer sort of thing. I wasn't able to completely figure out what it is. It looks like it's an alarm clock. Next, I also saw copies of Backyard Soccer and Backyard Hockey. These were nice and topical. One of the streamers I like to watch streaming some Backyard Baseball. These were some related games. $5 is a little steep, though, for each of these games, I think. Next, I saw just a vintage Disney ceramic figure maker, not gaming related, but just, it's cool to see things this old complete in the box. Also saw one of these crappy sort of LCD game things. This one's sort of a generic one, but these can be kind of cool to collect, I bet. Also just a random pirate VHS copy of Dragon Ball Z. This could be a vintage from maybe the early 2000s or something, when the show was newish. Not really sure. It retailed for 2,400 yen, supposedly. Next is this digital photo album, Radio Shack brand, so it had to be from the early 2000s, mid-2000s at the latest. And then I had just sort of a brief little kick of getting CDs, looking at CDs. About a month or two ago, there was a Bandcamp Friday, which is a thing where the music sales website Bandcamp doesn't take any cut from the artists, so everything you purchase goes only to the artists. Looked through the CD sections at Thrifts a bit during this time too, looking for sort of older albums that I was into that I wanted. I did find one, this KD Lang record, that actually really common to find. Next thing I saw is this internet phone line share device. Not really sure what this is at all, but it was just completely sealed. Some sort of old networking device. I'm guessing just from the name, it's from the dial-up days where you could use the phone and the internet at the same time. Interestingly enough, this says that the free phone set thing in the corner there is not actually in the box on this important note in the front. I also found this complete in-box old telephone, just a nice little wireless thing. Next up is a game that I passed on. This is Me and My Katamari, a pretty good PSP release to find, but I don't own a PSP. I'm kind of on the fence. I probably won't ever own a PSP, but I could be talked into it. Having TV out on a device like that is pretty good. Had a bunch of good exclusives, like this one picture. This picture was also taken when I was out of town. This is one of those mechanical poker games that I kind of find interesting. I like sort of the mechanical handheld games. You know, what was a thing before a Game & Watch or whatnot. I already have one of these that's smaller. It's Radio Shack branded, but this one was nice and large. Another unique thing I found was Pocket PC software just in the box. Never seen this. Not really familiar with how Palm or Pocket PCs worked, but these were games on a disc. Sorry about the blur in the second picture. I just kind of quickly took pictures here. And here's a funny little piece of tech that is definitely outdated. We got a calculator checkbook holder. This is a site of things I think that you're probably going to see in the future in thrift stores. I saw nice bright red rock candy Xbox 360 controller, but it was missing the breakout cable, so I decided to pass on it. I like the idea of collecting third-party controllers. It's a nice cool color, but that's the Xbox problem that I always see in thrift stores and secondhand markets. The Xbox controllers are always missing the breakouts. And this is just sort of a thrift store double-checking issue that I'm guessing the older staff of the thrift stores didn't know to look out for. These are some manga mixed into the kids' books, but if you take a peek inside, these should not go in kids' books, to say the least. Next thing I saw is a clip art compilation for, I guess it looks like about Windows 95 era. Another nice thing I saw was this portable television set. It's a nice form factor. It even had the original manual on top and an adapter for, I believe, the screw terminals, which then you could chain together with the typical screw-in RF connector and actually use this television somewhat. But for 15 bucks, decided to pass on it. And the last thing I saw recently when I was out thrifting was this Dear America educational software. If we look at the back here, it sort of advertises itself as sort of like an instant messenger, but not actually using the internet. It's probably similar to like a modern visual novel sort of game you'd see on like itch.io indie games. Might actually be interesting, but I passed on it, so I don't collect that much for PC. So overall, these last few months of thrifting have been pretty uneventful, but I decided to go ahead and compile it all and share it all, just so that way I'm not too far behind in the queue. Hopefully the next few months will be a bit more interesting. If not, at least hopefully I'm able to find a bunch of weird stuff I want to pass on. Otherwise, there's not a lot to show for these, but yeah. If anyone else has had better luck thrifting, let me know. It's definitely starting to dry out for me. I think in the next video I'll probably try running to other nearby cities and thrifting as well. Maybe I'll find a bit more interesting things because of that. We'll see. Yeah, once again, thanks for watching, and take care. Bye.